Hey everybody, this is Dan,
and this is Ron,
and this is a nominee. The show that's mostly movies.
Mostly movies. That's right. Mostly movies.
And this episode, we are going to. This is a very special episode because not because I'm trying to bring up Degrassi again, but because it's the first time we've covered a new movie.
Yeah,
ever, I think, and we've been on the air for a while now because
almost half a year.
Yeah, nobody's thought to cancel us yet. So
we might have. No one else has.
No, yeah, there's we're gonna get another season despite budget overruns and all that fun stuff. Anyway, so we're going to talk about new Kevin Smith movie, written and directed by Kevin Smith, as all of them have been, except for Cop Out, Rock Out with Your Cop Out, as it said on the posters that I saw instead of the movie. So he's come out with the first View Askew universe film, or View Askewniverse for those of us who don't like spaces between words, in at least 15 years, because Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back was out when I was in high school, so that was
that was 20 years, almost 20 years ago.
Yeah,
he said it,
because that was 2000 maybe.
Wow. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. We can look up the exact.
Yeah, because Dogma was 1999, so at the absolute latest, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back was maybe 2002.
When did Clerks 2 come out?
Oh wait, right, because Clerks 2 did come out. No, that was after, because the first Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is the last one of the initial run of them. Okay, no, so Clerks 2, and I did see Clerks 2.
Clerks 2 was 2006.
Okay, so still almost 15 years.
Yeah,
13 generously. So it's been a very long time since we have seen a certain portly gentleman and his talkative sidekick.
Formerly portly gentleman.
Now heart-diseased gentleman.
Which is why he lost the weight, but yes, it was in response to it that he lost the weight.
Good for him. You know, he seemed to be chipper, doing good. So anyway, I guess to synopsize.
Wait.
Well, not synopsize the plot of the movie, but synopsize, I guess, the experience that we went through that we're going into this podcast with, and just kind of what is this object that we're holding up?
But just one thing, we do owe somebody something about Theodore Rex.
Oh, we do. Okay, so
do that first. So we've got one of our regular listeners pointed out he was listening to the Theodore Rex episode, and he was really keen to find out what the movie was about, and we never really discussed that and said what was going on in the movie. We kind of hinted at it.
It was about racism and identity in America.
Yeah.
There.
So this is a shout out to, I don't like mentioning actual names, but this is a shout out to E. That's an
from
initial.
Entourage, the short one.
So here's what Theodore Rex was about. Let's see. So in the near future, dinosaurs have been brought back to life. Mm-hmm. Still not exactly 100% clear why. And they live alongside humans. They're much shorter versions of dinosaurs. They're only roughly human size, a little taller.
And they're mostly forced, kind of like the Irish, Italians, and Jews at the beginning of the 20th century, into menial positions or civil service positions.
Right.
Which is why we see Theodore as a cop.
Oh, he starts off as doesn't he? Wait, he uses a dump truck, or I forget, or he's a cop, but he's not a full-fledged. He doesn't really have a beat or whatever. But he ends up, he begs for it, and he ends up being paired alongside Whoopi Goldberg, who is actually a cyborg.
And also, they're basically at gunpoint, but that's the backstory of the making of the movie.
Yeah, yeah, there is a backstory of why Whoopi Goldberg even made this movie. But she originally didn't want. Well, she signed up for it, and then she later, when production finally was ready to start, she wanted to back out of it. And there was a settlement in which she ended up getting paid a lot of money in order to actually stay in the movie. She would have been sued, I believe, if she didn't agree to stay on. But so she agreed to stay on just for better pay and really good pay.
And we now know what the price of Whoopi Goldberg's self-respect and sold is, and I think it was something like $7 million.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Oh, you want some apple cider vinegar? That's like a good. You take like a quick shot of it. It's an anti-cough thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, let me get you a shot glass, or you can drink it in water. But honestly, it's probably better if you just do it quick.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, here you go. Just down the hatch, and you should be good.
Oh,
it's pretty gross, but.
Oh, okay. Water. All right. Yeah, let's see if that helps. Maybe I can go back to laughing normally. Well, that used to be my normal laugh.
But that was the old Ron.
That was the old Ron. That was the new Ron is old Ron.
So back to Ron. Ron clearly remembers way more of this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So there's this evil guy. He's a big scientist and he has a lot of money and all that. People don't know that he's evil. He actually wants to destroy the world and create a base. I can't remember. Is it a new ice age or whatever? But he wants to get rid of everyone and start fresh. So, anyways, it begins with a murder. There's a murder of one of the dinosaurs, and so they go investigating the murder. They meet the murder victim's girlfriend, and who's a singer, Carol Kane, not Carol King.
Carol Kane, but also not really Carol Kane because she's a dinosaur.
She's a dinosaur, Carol Kane.
Burlesque stripper dinosaur.
Yeah. And then, well, really, there wasn't much else to say about the movie. Now that I think about it, they go around trying to track down the murderer.
And Whoopi Goldberg learns that she is racist against dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And that was how we started our episode of the podcast. I think
that was the dinophobia.
Yeah. My brain just got really hooked on like what the fuck, man. Like who thinks this is a good idea?
It still never made sense of why dinosaurs were brought back. Why it was sort of a Jurassic Park thing, except that they were brought back smaller and talking.
Well, right, and if they're as smart as humans and they're bigger, then why don't they just beat the shit out of all the humans and then, like, take over the society? Like,
well, I think there's still more humans.
So it's a, like, numbers issue.
Yeah. So they go around trying to track him down, and they uncover the secret plot about the guy, the same genius who brought back the dinosaurs, that he also wants to destroy the world and bring on a new ice age. And
was this before or after Jurassic Park Theodore Rex came out?
After Jurassic Park.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
They stumbled across the plot, which, by the way, we're told about in the opening sequence. So there's no surprise to us, the audience. It's just so we're supposed to suspend disbelief. We're more, the disbelief at why this movie exists never goes away. I've been unable to suspend that since I experienced it. Yeah, I never want to do it again. Don't want anyone else to have to do it. They uncover the plot. They end up in the guy's lair, in his mansion. And the guy sends out the evil guy sends out a satellite that is going to destroy, or a satellite or a missile that is going to set off the climate change. Wow, I just put climate change in the same category as evil. I guess change itself is evil, right?
Well, it killed the dinosaurs. It's going to kill us.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Whoopi Goldberg made $7 million.
Right. There we go. So
that's the moral of. Yeah. That's not even a moral.
No. But then at the last minute, there's the big fight. Whoopi Goldberg actually becomes incapacitated because of some shock to her system, and since she's a cyborg, she's electricity affects her. At the last minute, the Theodore Rex, Theodore the dinosaur, he manages to stop. It's like a James Bond movie. The countdown goes to 1, and then he manages to stop.
And there's like a beautiful shot of just this like fake dinosaur in a cop outfit going down like a string pulley, and he's like "Hiya" or something like that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's what I remember. I remember little moments like that.
Yeah.
But everything like Ron is saying right now, I don't think my brain was like assembling plot as we were watching. I was just sort of like, okay, shiny, disturbing things are going to fly past my head.
Right.
And I just need to like absorb the je ne sais quoi of like anti-dinosaur racism or speciesism or whatever. Whatever.
Speciesism, yeah. We get bits of that. So but yeah, he manages to destroy it by pressing a button. So right before the missile has its effect, it's destroyed, and then the final scene in which Theodore Rex gets a medal and his arm is broken because from the fight in which he manages to destroy the missile. That's it. So that's Theodore Rex. There wasn't much else to say, really. And,
so E, pass that on to Turtle, pass that on to Vinny Chase, pass that on to wherever all the guys on Entourage go after America moves on beyond the show Entourage.
I don't think I've even seen a whole trailer for Entourage, much less an episode. I've seen the movie, but not the show. No, I'm just kidding.
I've seen way too. I mean, that might be the worst thing. No, I mean the worst thing that HBO ever aired. It's between Dream On and Arliss, I think. Although I've not seen absolutely everything, but
the worst things you've seen.
Because I've seen a lot of HBO stuff, and like honestly, like I could defend Taxi Cab Confessions, but that's
a great show.
Yeah, it's like iconic, and honestly, I read an oral history of it, which sounds kind of dirty now that it's like in the context of Taxi Cab, but they sounded like the people producing it. They were going into it with the right attitude, and I feel like if I watched Taxi Cab Confessions again now, it would seem less just like a trashy excuse to get low-resolution pornography from drunk people.
These are real people talking about...
let's do a Taxi Cab Confessions episode at some point.
There we go.
I would be willing to watch Taxi Cab Confessions, because it turns out there's really not much to it. Like, it was on so often on HBO when I was a kid. Like, anytime I could sneak up past a certain point and get the TV on, it was always between like midnight reruns of Speed Racer on the Cartoon Network, and then like the looming specter of not actual pornography represented by Taxi Cab Confessions or whatever was on Showtime in the middle of it. But anyway, so Kevin Smith has a heart attack, decides I'm going to make a movie. We saw the movie last night. It is not in wide release yet. We're going to try not to spoil any of it for the first half of the episode, but I personally think you should go see this movie. I liked it.
It was enjoyable. Especially if you like Kevin Smith.
Yeah, and if you like our podcast, like it's the same. It's a lot of people talking very quickly about movies, basically. So, Amazon, like if you like The Nominee, you might like Kevin Smith. But in actuality, it's if you like Kevin Smith, you might like a Nominee, because I don't think a lot of people are going to be finding Kevin Smith through us instead of vice versa.
I don't think many people will be finding a Nominee through Kevin Smith, so we should be so lucky. But.
Well, hey, it's got it's got some of that clickbait magic,
Okay, so we're going to try not to spoil it just yet.
Although for the first half, I think, and then the second half, we should probably, because there are a lot of specifics I would love to go into about the movie, but we saw it at the Wilbur Theater. Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes were both there in attendance. They took question and answer. Well, they didn't take answers. They gave answers at the end. And they screened this movie, and I guess... Yeah,
they're doing the road show. They're going around from city to city, having these shows, the screening of the movie with them in attendance. I think, what did they say? They're doing something like 50...
they're 50 trying to hit 50 cities, which is insane.
Yeah. It started a few months ago, and they're going through February, I think, from what he said, something like that.
Yeah, I could believe it because it was so. Unlike Ron, I'd never seen. This was the first Kevin Smith movie I'd ever seen in a theater because every other Kevin Smith movie I'd seen like on VHS because I snuck it past my parents at an age when I probably should not have been watching it. I think the first one I ever saw was Mallrats. Like, there was a store that was going out of business in a mall, which is very appropriate. And, I got like a VHS of it I begged my dad for like $3, and I was like, see, the local radio guy in Chicago said this is a rip-roaring good time. He's like, if you just shut up about it, so here, give you the tape. And I had to sneak it on because I knew that as soon as my parents heard all the swearing, they were not going to let me watch the thing. And I was watching this, it was 13 inches at the biggest, like tube TV, rabbit ears, everything on top of it. That's how long ago this was. And I remember seeing it. It was the first time I'd ever seen somebody on film geeking out about comic books because it just literally was not a thing that existed in movies before then.
It even has a Stan Lee cameo.
Right. Stan Lee shows up. And to me, that was the coolest thing in the world because I was still like living at the comic book store whenever I could at that age. And yeah, I like immediately loved what I now recognize is not a particularly well-made movie, but it has a charm. Like he's acknowledging these parts of the culture that most people, I think, once they get to Hollywood are very happy they can avoid for the rest of their lives.
Uh-huh.
And I guess that was my initial introduction to Kevin Smith.
And mine was Clerks. I saw Clerks first run in the theater, 1994, and I was in grad school at the time, and that was the movie that made me realize that what I want to do with my life is watch movies. When I was younger, I wanted to make movies. That was a dream. Obviously, grad school was in psychology, so that wasn't part of that dream. But I also didn't get to watch a lot of movies because I was in grad school. I wasn't supposed to have fun. And then after watching that, I realized, like, no, I'd much rather do this. I want to do stuff like this in my life, not read about cognitive psychology. I loved it, and I probably watch it once a year. Although when I watched it this last time, it hit me that this is okay. The movie is two guys spending all their time just talking to each other, and like, oh my god, is this a bro film? Have I been like so in love with a bro movie this whole time? Like, oh my god, does that make me a bro? Wait, this is mucking with my self-identity. What does this mean? What does this mean?
They're not bros though, because there wasn't a bro culture in the early 90s as far as I could like there were frats and stuff, but there wasn't like this weird kind of like proving masculinity through like suppressed homoerotic male friendship. Like, so I just read it as they're both dorks. They both have no career trajectory.
Okay.
They reminded me of like every person I knew in downtown. Not every person, but like it reminded me of the frustrations that were aired by a lot of the people that I spent a lot of my younger years around, kind of loitering around downtown, blankety blank in upstate New York.
Okay. You also don't want to mention names.
Yeah, I don't want to. But yeah, the guy who owned the comic book store basically was Dante. Like, okay. And I remember seeing that and thinking like, whoa, it's a movie about those. And again, I saw it, God, when I was 12 probably. So I was like, Randall's got the right attitude.
Wow.
That has not aged well, but I was like, yeah, this is a guy who hates working, and I hate working.
Okay. It's not that Dante loves working, but he realizes that's...
Dante is resigned to his fate.
He's resigned to his fate. He is definitely resigned to his fate. And he realizes as much as he doesn't enjoy working, he has a responsibility. Randall doesn't recognize that he has a responsibility.
Right. Randall is sort of this impulse towards freedom without any constraints, and Dante is all the constraints without any conception of what freedom in the outside world could possibly look. He's a domesticated animal. You let him outside, he's going to get eaten.
So, Jane Silent Bob Reboot actually begins with the
the quick stop. And what I find kind of interesting is Dante shows up throughout. Okay, is this a spoiler? This isn't a spoiler. It's like such a minor detail. Dante shows up throughout the movie. Dante mentions Randall at one point. The guy who plays Randall does not show up in any of the movie that I could tell.
He does not. That's a whole that has to do with some contractual stuff and some disagreements. And the reason Clerks 3 had not been made is that Jeff Anderson didn't want to be involved, and Kevin Smith didn't want to make Clerks 3 without Randall.
You can't have a Clerks movie without Randall. Yeah,
it's got to be Dante and Randall, and you need Jane Silent Bob. Those are the requirements, the basic requirements.
Right, because like Clerks 2, you don't need the quick stop necessarily. And I found it kind of interesting too that like Clerks 2, they're at the movies, the like fictional fast food restaurant in the Viewist universe. And this one somehow Dante is back to working at the quick stop.
Yeah. Well, remember what happens at the end of Clerks 2?
I actually somebody hooks up with Rosario Dawson.
Dante.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I remember. And then so Dante and Cory Booker kissing cousins.
That out. Wait, what?
Well, because Rosario Dawson, she's in like a high-profile relationship with Cory Booker now.
Oh, is she really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
cool.
She's been like with him on the campaign trail and stuff.
Yeah. No, so Clerks 2, so major spoiler here, but for Clerks 2, it ends with Jane Silent Bob, who have a whole lot of money. I mean, they made a lot of money dealing weed. They finance Dante and Randall buying the Quick Stop.
Right.
So now they're no longer just clerks at Quick Stop. They own it. So they actually they've taken control of their fate. And do what they do well. Anyways, so it's not that Dante shows up throughout the movie. This isn't a major spoiler because we see Dante right at the beginning of the movie, but Brian O'Halloran, who plays Dante, shows up a few times, but not as Dante.
Right. Yeah. He shows up. He has like 3 or 4 roles in this movie, I thought, right? Because he's like popping up in different spaces. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he showed up in another Kevin Smith movie, but not playing Dante, but playing another role.
I thought he was in at least the first 5 of them. He shows up at some point. I feel like
because a lot of his friends do.
Because he's somebody in Mallrats. I forget who he was, but he does show up in Mallrats.
Yes, and doesn't he?
Or wait, no, he's on the dating show at the end, right?
Yeah,
he's Bachelor number 2 or something.
Right, and is he in Chasing Amy as an agent or something? Yeah,
he's somebody at Comic-Con, maybe.
Yeah, it's some nasty bigwig or Well, anyways, yeah. So Brian O'Halloran and Dante. So the movie starts off with that, and it starts off and with obviously.
Well, actually, the very beginning of the movie is entirely in the trailer, so we haven't spoiled anything, right?
Right.
But yeah, they started growing a lot of weed in a fake chicken restaurant called Cock Smokers, which. The first of many, many, many callbacks
to any of the earlier films. And then they go through So what's the main deal is that in Jane Silent Bob Strike Back, the characters of Bluntman and Chronic, which were created by the Ben Affleck
character in Chasing Amy, Holden McNeil.
Based on Jane Silent Bob. And so in Jane Silent Bob Strike Back, they go and try to stop the movie version from being made. So in this one, there's going to be a reboot of the first movie.
The first fictional movie within movie.
Right.
So this is a movie within movie within. It's like one of those pictures where tinier versions of the picture keep repeating.
It's a reboot of a movie within a movie. And this reboot of a movie within a movie is within a reboot of that movie. So we get early on, is it Bansky? No, not Bansky. I forget the name of the guy, but the guy that owns the comic book store. Now he Banky or something. Yeah, I think is that him or is it another character?
It's Jason Lee.
Jason Lee played 2 people in two different movies, so I forget which one he is. But anyways, he explains.
No,
to
he's
them,
the one from Mallrats, right? Because he's calling because they probably couldn't get Shannon Doherty. Because I am sure that Shannon Doherty, from everything I've heard, she does not have a great time getting along with people. But they try to kind of fit her character in because he gets we're getting into spoiler territory.
Yeah, okay. So
basically, he gets a text where it's like, "Yo, Sega boy" or something, and that's a direct reference to like what she would call him in Mallrats, when she was like, "Put down the video games."
I did not get that. Thank you. All right.
And they've appeared. Well, okay, that's an actual spoiler. I'm not going to go that far.
Okay. But he explained. Yes. Again, we're talking about the first 10 minutes of the movie. He explains to Jay and Silent Bob the difference between a reboot and a remake. Goes to the whole thing.
Well, actually, that's in the trailer too.
Is it? Okay.
A part of it, not the whole. I mean, because it's like a 5-minute sequence in the movie, I think. But
okay, all right. But it's fairly early on, and it sets off the plot, or it sets off the story. But so they now go back to Hollywood to stop the new movie from being made. This movie, it's not Bluntman and Chronic. It's Bluntman v. Chronic, which is a reference to
Dawn of Justice.
Right, Dawn of Justice. It's a reference to Batman v Superman. With Ben Affleck as Batman. But anyways,
R.I.P. Batfleck.
Batfleck. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. What else is there to say without spoilers? Well, throughout the movie, it's so this is okay. Now I can't remember. Is it Hanging the Lampshade? It's the name of the movie is
Lampshade Hanging. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
Right.
It is Kevin.
And it
Smith.
has the exact plot of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, give or take.
Right.
But the difference is, we're almost 20 years later. Kevin Smith has almost died. Everybody involved has had children and learned they had to grow up.
Yeah.
There's like an orange beach ball is running the largest military in the world.
Wait,
in the cunt. Wow, that was a Freudian something. God, I cut myself off at the wrong time.
Yeah. Wow. This is 20 years later. I mean, the movie, everything in there is taken 20 years later, so it's a reboot, but it's really a sequel. Actually, I argue that it's not a reboot. It's a sequel that all follows the same story. So the same way that is Star Wars: The Force Awakens a reboot of Star Wars: A New Hope, or is it a sequel of those movies that has a very similar plot and very similar elements? Like, it's not just that they go to destroy the Death Star, except in this case it's not the Death Star, it's Starkiller Base, which, as Han Solo points out in it. Wow. Okay, spoilers here for The Force Awakens. Han Solo says
it came out like 5 years ago. Who cares?
Oh, longer. Yeah. Or maybe that's right. Yeah.
No, because I was in Boston, I think, when it came out.
So it was 5 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, because I haven't been in Boston for 4 years, though. Like, roughly 4 years, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay, actually, right. 4 years. It was 2015. So Han Solo says, so it's like the Death Star, but bigger. So this is the same thing, except it's more blatant. It's explicit. It's what the whole thing is about.
Well, it's the entire structure of the film. It's basically like it's film folded in on itself, almost. And that was actually a thing that I found. I thought that was an advantage because it's the first time in any Kevin Smith film, granted I have not seen all of them the way Ron has, I've seen quite, like, the more we talk about it, it's like, oh wait, no, I did see Clerks 2. Oh wait, no, I did see Zack and Miri make a porno. I saw the first 5 U.S. Universe. I just haven't seen
Yoga Hosers.
Haven't seen Yoga Hosers. Haven't seen Jersey Girl. Haven't seen Tusk. Haven't seen Cop Out. Haven't seen. Was that all of them? I think that might be all of them.
Okay. Red State?
No, I didn't see Red State.
Okay. Which is an interesting movie. It's a decent movie. You saw Dogma, right?
Oh yeah. I've seen.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw like the original 5.
Yeah.
But I think it was the first time where Smith was completely comfortable with the fact that his greatest talent is taking us all into this weird little world that exists only in like some memory of New Jersey in his head. And just sort of living there and indulging it. He's not worried about anything really touching the real world. The only times it really touches the real world are insofar as the real world has touched Kevin Smith. And it's refreshing, I think, because he's not, whenever he tries to deal with bigger issues first, he has kind of like the Woody Allen problem, right? Where he's sort of like when he wants to be, the things that everyone loves him for are not the things that he wants to be loved for necessarily. Like Woody Allen always wished that he was Ingmar Bergman, right? As soon as he got the opportunity, he made like a shitty drama movie where some lady walks into the ocean.
Stardust Memories?
Interiors.
Interiors. Thank you.
Yeah, Stardust Memories, I think that there's some... But yeah, Stardust Memories is just basically a Fellini fan film, but that's a whole other discussion. Stardust Memories is 8.5 reboot.
Okay. Reboot or remake? No, reboot.
A little bit of both, yeah. So some
theft,
yeah. Steal from the best, I guess, right? That's what Picasso said. But he, it's the first time that I get the sense that Kevin Smith is entirely comfortable with the fact that he is Kevin Smith, and he's just going to like not that I ever got the sense that he had this like self-hatred or insecurity or something before that. The way that like Woody Allen, it's just written all over everything. It's just like take me seriously. I did not go to college. I feel insecure about the fact I did go to college. Like, there's all that stuff where he's, like, shitting on formal education in the 80s movies. In favor of things like performance magic and whatnot. I just got the sense of like a man kind of he seemed reinvigorated. Like it's the most energetic Smith movie I've seen, maybe even since Clerks. Like he seemed to be having a good time making it, and I think that's his great strength as a filmmaker, is that he's a person who has this like incredibly infectious enthusiasm that he can bring into a room.
Yeah, he's clearly a fanboy of so many things. He directed I think he directed some episodes of Supergirl. I think the TV show. I forget what else. He wrote a screenplay for Superman that was never produced.
Right.
But he's a fan of his own stuff.
He wrote a bunch of Daredevil comics. He wrote a bunch of issues of Green Arrow.
Yeah. And he geeks out over that stuff. He's like so happy about it.
But he's a guy who seems happy to be there, and I think, and that's what. And seeing it in a room full of like diehard Kevin Smith fans, that was what I took away. Was like, because I think that was the first time I've been to a theater in at least 10 years where not a single cell phone went off the entire night.
Oh my God, you're right. People actually turned off the cell phones. I don't think, not even silence. I didn't hear any buzzing.
Right, which means it's probably the first time I've been in a room in 10 years where everybody actually wanted to be there. Like...
But he's a fan of comic books. He's a fan of all sorts of stuff, and he's a fan of his own stuff. He's a fan of his fans. Yeah, and you really got a sense of that, of how excited he is about his audience and about his audience being there. And he did the Q&A, and I've had he spent a lot of time answering.
It's a mutual love fest, and that was.
Man, so many beards, so many men wearing beards, or sporting beards. There were a few people, as Dan pointed out, he had to point them out to me, but there were
people like cosplaying Jay and Silent Bob in the audience. Yeah,
there were a few that were explicitly doing so, but you could argue that half the audience was doing that because they all had facial hair. But even more
like what was it? Marshall McLuhan said charisma is looking like a lot of other people, and I can believe that watching an audience look at Kevin Smith, like the idea of charisma is sort of being the sum average of like this collective experience over an enormous number of people, like the characteristics of either that. Again, another whole discussion.
So just the movie. I guess we gave the most of the summary of it without spoiling anything.
They go on a cross-country road trip to stop Blunt Man v. Chronic from happening.
And they meet people along the way. There's a lot of cameos from... Some of it is from characters from the different View Askew... How do you say it? The View Askew universe?
There's even cameos from outside the View Askew universe, though, because there's Justin Long returns as the character that he played in Zack and Miri Make a Porno.
Right,
at the very beginning.
Right.
And so does oh god, the guy with the afro that was on The Office, that was playing the judge. What?
Oh, Craig Robinson.
Craig Robinson. Yeah, he's hilarious.
I love Craig Robinson.
Yeah,
I'd watch anything
great.
he's in.
But he was
in one of his movies.
He was in Zack and Miri Make a Porno, if I remember right.
Oh, okay. I was wondering how he randomly showed up, and
Right.
I mean, he's great. He's hilarious. So I was glad to see him. I didn't realize that was bringing back. Yeah. So there were two things. So they brought back characters from his different movies, and then in some cases they brought back actors from his different movies, even if they played different roles. So there was a lot of so it was the reboot included just bringing every possible case in which he could bring someone back, a character or an actor, he brought them back.
It was simultaneously like him celebrating the fact that he was still alive despite 25 years of chain smoking cigarettes and eating McDonald's. And also, though, it had, and we talked about this a little bit when we were walking out of the theater. Oh, what you looking for?
My phone. What did I just do with it?
May have fallen into the sofa. Things have a tendency to do that.
Back pocket.
Back pocket. Okay.
I never put it there. So.
There's this idea that's talked about a lot by Truffaut, Rene, Godard, whoever was contributing to the Cahiers du Cinema in the 50s, 60s. I forget who coined it initially, but this idea of the testament film, where the last film in a filmmaker's oeuvre, I guess if we're going all French, oeuvre, or however you pronounce it, will be kind of them looking back through their prior work in life as this sort of hall of mirrors. The films don't tend to have an interest in strong narrative structure, and like the best example of that I can think of, besides this movie, which is sort of interesting to me, that it has so much of this vibe, because like he on stage he doesn't seem like a guy who thinks he's about to die. Like he seems like a guy who went through an experience, took very positive lessons out of it.
Yeah.
But Love Streams by John Cassavetes, right? Or did you ever see that?
No, never seen
that. All the characters seem like riffs and variations on the most noteworthy characters we've seen in the prior John Cassavetes movies. He shows up for only like the first or second time he's actually acted in any of his own movies. And then these people go through this stuff. It has this operatic, dreamy tone, which is unheard of in any of it, because he's sort of about emotional realism, so everything's like actor exercise looking type thing. And then the very last shot is Cassavetes himself. I don't think he's playing the character in the movie. The camera, it's raining out, and he's looking out the window, waving goodbye to the audience, essentially, and the camera pulls away, and the credits go up. And yeah, it just feels like... Because the best directors, to me, are very obsessive people. They're coming back to the same things over and over again.
Leni Riefenstahl was known to be obsessive. Sorry.
Well, she didn't have a chance to make a Testament film because thankfully she got canceled. But
although there was the rehabilitation period in the 70s, when someone was like, no, she's a great filmmaker, she's wonderful, yeah.
No, but she still... Kale was like, oh no, I don't care about them frying my relatives. Movies are more important.
Oh, sorry.
It's all good.
Also, you keep talking. Okay, no, wait. I just wanted to get another... But
yeah, so watching this movie, I got the sense of like, here is a guy who doesn't have time to bullshit about anything. He wants to make sure that he at least leaves some kind of message of what he thinks is important for the future in case he does drop dead tomorrow. He wants to leave this but he also wants to look back at his life. Like the Testament film, I think what's so interesting about the concept is that it's almost like presuming the film is sort of like the filmmaker's life flashing before their eyes, but for our benefit.
Wait, can you explain what a Testament film is?
So a Testament film is usually the last film that a filmmaker makes it will tend to be an encapsulation of the themes and frequently even like characters, obsessions, motifs of the prior films.
Okay.
Very frequently, it doesn't tend to. It's more kind of a meta film looking back on the writer's work than it is like a completely new thing for obvious reasons.
So are you saying that this was a Testament film?
It felt a lot like that. Yeah, it felt like a guy who was coming to terms with... There's this air of death hanging over the entire film, which gives it this weird energy. Granted, it's really hard to view the film outside of the context of knowing that Smith had this heart attack.
And nearly died.
Right. And so much of it, like even the parts of the movie that aren't necessarily good, they feel very sincere and heartfelt because it is this like very genuine expression from a person who doesn't feel like they have time to beat around the bush. Really, there's not a lot of like stupid bullshit diversions like there was in like Jay and Silent Bob Strike. This is a vastly superior film to Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Granted, that's most movies.
Although that said, I probably
Good Will Hunting 2 is great.
Yeah,
that's a great gag. Like.
Hunting season. I had forgotten about that until it was referenced here. What was I going to say? But so by the way, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is I've probably seen it, let's say 3 times, and it's on Netflix. And I don't think it was just because this was being made.
Oh, and it sold like 5 bajillion DVDs. That's one of the most common DVDs you'll see at Goodwills and stuff.
Oh, no kidding.
For whatever reason, yeah.
But it's a little bit like I was saying in was it earlier in this? No, in another episode, the one about the Martin Scorsese Marvel Studios one. That it's a comfortable movie. I watch it. I know exactly what's going to happen. There's not much. I don't have to put much into it. It doesn't really have heart. In it, so there's no emotional component. It just it's comfortable. It's comfortable.
Well, it's sort of interesting to watch that in retro because at the time I was like in high school and I was just like, oh, I guess everybody starts to suck when they're 30, and like now I think about it, it's like, oh, okay, Jason Mewes has this like horrible heroin problem while they're shooting the movie. Kevin Smith's heart clearly isn't in this stuff at that point. He's kind of like doing it because he feels like he needs to do it. And that makes it feel like I would like to rewatch that movie at some point from this sort of lens of having these biographical details. And also the lens of the new movie, which I think... Yeah, I think there's like a lot of very interesting stuff, like not necessarily overtly interesting, because like Smith's not a philosopher. He's a guy who's very good at wearing his heart on his sleeve, but he's not like a deep thinker. He's not John Luc Godard or something. Like I'm not going to go see, Chasing Amy the third time and come away with new intellectual interpretations. But when you add in the biographical stuff, because it's like they're very personal movies. Like I almost got the sense he was on the spectrum when he was describing like his issues with Ben Affleck on stage in the Q&A. Like he can't shut up. He has a hard time distinguishing social boundaries. He obsessively interested in a couple subjects.
That's so interesting. I never thought of it that way.
Right. I mean, everything he was describing sounded like social issues that I've had because of ASD.
Huh. Kevin Smith on the spectrum. All right, I need a little bit of time to not to swallow that. I need a little time to wrap my head around that.
And like even his dialogue, because his dialogue has always kind of seemed like one person setting up another guy to go on a monologue. Like Clerks 2, I think, is the peak of that. Like the Anne Frank and who's the blind, deaf, and dumb?
Annie Sullivan, Helen Keller.
Right, the Helen Keller thing,
which the joke is repeated in this movie briefly.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, like a lot of that movie felt like bits that he developed in the Q&A sessions where he just had to force another character into it so it seemed like a movie, which seems like very like difficulties recognizing patterns of speech. And I mean, he stylizes it to work to his advantage, but I would not be surprised if Kevin Smith was actually like mildly on the spectrum.
I mean, here we are. We might be just pathologizing normal behavior, and we're providing a psychological assessment of someone far away.
It takes a certain kind of person to be able to talk for 3 hours at a time, night after night.
Yeah. So when we went after the movie, there was about an hour and a half Q&A.
Yeah.
It's almost all A. There were maybe 4 questions. 4 people asking questions, even though the line was much longer than that. Dan stood in line. I did not get up, but Dan stood in line.
But I got there too late, or else I had this weird thought that like if I walked up to the microphone and I said, "Dear Kevin Smith, because of you, I just watched 500 episodes of Degrassi. Please come on our podcast." Because he would feel guilty. No, but he got some interesting questions. We got to hear the full story of him and Batfleck reuniting.
Yeah. Which is I knew most of that because he had talked about it on Twitter. It was either on Twitter or on Facebook or wherever. So he's already talked about that publicly. So it wasn't.
He seems so excited about it though, even though it was like months old news. But he was my friend's back.
Well, he was so excited when Ben Affleck became.
The other thing that seemed like autism spectrum disorder was the fact that he was like, "Oh, I'm going to write this heartfelt note and post it to Twitter," and then his wife had to tell him like, "No, that's not how people interact."
Right.
Because I have interactions like that with my girlfriend like multiple times a day. I think
we'll have to ask Elizabeth the podcast if that's the podcast if that's true, if she comes back in here.
Or well, I should at least, because when I don't, I end up like putting my digital foot in my digital mouth.
So she helps you keep your digital foot ensconced in a shoe?
Yeah. I'm not doing any I'm not deep throating my own appendages socially. Okay, maybe that's the quote of the episode. In this episode, Dan stops deep throating his appendages socially.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh my God! Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow. We have a question for you for when if and when you decide to join us.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm gonna be like eating, so that counts as joining.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there's food.
Yes.
All right, so Elizabeth the podcast just entered. She made food. She made dinner. This is so exciting.
Yeah, this is awesome.
It's pasta with
bunch of stuff in it.
A bunch of stuff. I see some cauliflower,
some sausage, some parsley.
Yum. This is so good. Elizabeth, you're so good to us.
Is it any good? I haven't tasted it.
No, it's good. It's very good. Thank you. Wow. So
this podcast is brought to you due to the support of listeners like you.
Yeah.
/ participants like you.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's pretty good.
Wait, so we have a question for you about digital appendages.
Okay.
So how often do I ask you, like, should I say this socially, or is this like me being stupid? Or do I usually just do it and then
You sometimes ask me that if you're like sending a text to clients or something.
Okay.
Sometimes you do ask that in like social settings too. But I think the main reason why you don't ask more often is just because you tend to be a pretty confident person. So.
Okay, I'll take it.
Wait. Does that mean oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well.
Yeah.
What?
Pod seat.
Well.
The podcast must be consumed by the pod seat.
But then I have less access.
Wait, are you saying that he should actually he's so confident and really he should be asking you more often?
No, but I'm just saying that you're trying to get it like spectrum thing.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out if Kevin's on the spectrum.
Well, the only thing is that I'm just gonna say is like let's not speculate about like other people. Like
yeah.
like it's not appropriate.
Right, speculate about your own.
Right.
Not to be like all judgy or anything, but like
No. We actually realized that we were doing that and kind of
it's probably just like not a good idea to do. Like
to do yourself.
Well, but I mean, this is sort of like my only intellectual point that I want to make is that secretly it's like the Illuminati, but like I want to prove that every famous person, world leader, and country musician is on the spectrum. But instead of being a lizard person.
So that you're in good company?
Yeah, I guess then I'm not special. I have to rethink this plan.
I just don't think that's true. It's just not true.
So you think they're all lizard people?
No.
Wait, but are you saying that you're not a lizard person then, Dan?
I never unzipped that thing in the back, so I didn't have the heart to find out.
Oh God.
No, I won't be a lizard person until we hit at least 1 million subscribers on this podcast.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
Bit by bit.
Bit by bit.
Bit by bit. By hook or by crook.
So it's been an hour in the podcast. Should we get to like the spoiler discussion?
All right.
Guys, I finally hit a mushroom. Oh. Sorry,
Spoiler.
I just
Liz
had
is going to hit a mushroom.
Yeah. Well, spoiler.
There's not enough
Elizabeth
of
just hit a
them.
mushroom.
And that's the end of part 1 of this podcast, in which we had the spoiler-free discussion of Kevin Smith's Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Next time, we're going to have the spoil-filled, like we normally do, the spoiled-filled discussion of the same movie. So in the meantime, take care and goodbye, y'all.